Growthpoint Properties reporting today that its group operating profit up by 5.5%, boosted by an increase in like-for-like net property increase of over 6%. And particularly because there's been more demand in Umhlanga Ridge in KwaZulu-Natal and the Western Cape, and then helped along by strong results at the V&A waterfront in Cape Town. Norbert Sasse is this group CEO at Growthpoint Properties. Norbert, good evening. Thanks for the time. You say the office sector has stabilized in South Africa. What kind of progress or movement are you seeing there?
Evening, Stephen. Yeah, look, I mean, certainly it's still a bit of a regional story. So you highlighted there in your introduction, Umhlanga Ridge. I mean, the office market in Durban is quite small. It's sort of confined to the Umhlanga Ridge, and certainly our portfolio is focused and concentrated there. And there's literally a zero vacancy there at the moment. So you've got a good, let's say, proposition from the landlord's perspective where you've got some demand and there's not a hell of a lot of supply. And there hasn't been much in the form of development either. So, that bodes well for us and for rental growth in that market. Western Cape is a very similar story. We're seeing pretty strong demand within the Western Cape. Admittedly, there you're already seeing, some supply come on the market. But nonetheless, we're seeing pretty good, solid demand and rental growth coming out of the Western Cape. The inland region, or Gauteng, the broader Gauteng, is still plagued with oversupply. Our vacancy factor there is improved from 15, just over 15, to sort of in the low 14%. Sandton, in particular, still a bit problematic, but the fundamentals are all improving. So over the last couple of reporting periods, vacancies have continuously dropped. Rental reversions, albeit that they're still negative in the Gauteng region, and in office overall, actually, in our portfolio, they're significantly less negative. They were like minus 14% in the prior reporting period. They're now minus 3%. So, and then if we look at our like-for-like net property income growth across the office portfolio, it was almost 6% and probably stronger than the rest, but coming off probably off a low base, given how weak office has been over the last sort of 5, or even longer, probably almost like a decade.
Is there a case to build more offices in Umhlanga Ridge? I mean, are people moving to Durban for some reason, or is it just people moving away from Durban and into Umhlanga up, what is it, I think the M4?
Yeah, there is still a bit of that. There's a migration from Durban CBD and let's say the immediate adjacency to the CBD further north. So the growth is out towards Umhlanga, further north even to Ballito. So there's an element of migration, if you want to call it that. But then we actually are seeing, one or two corporates growing. And what's very strong in KZN, and about 40% of our tenancy in KZN is call center operators, and there seems to be a continuous demand from call center operators for more space in that market. And at this present time, there actually isn't any space. So you're definitely going to see some new developments taking place there.
The negative reversions you talk about, where people are able to sort of you basically sign a contract to have a cheaper rent for the next year. Do you see that ever turning around? I mean, obviously you're making some progress. There is a bit more demand for offices. I presume that's mostly Gauteng where that is happening. But it must still, Norbert, keep you awake at night because it's the opposite of what you want.
No, absolutely. And look, I mean, today's GDP print at 0.7% for the half year, it's not very encouraging. We do really need economic growth to stimulate, employment. The kind of users you've got here in Sandton are financial services, banks, lawyers, accountants. And the reality is these guys, haven't grown their footprint, haven't grown their employee base, but more than that, I guess, there's still the lingering work from home issue, which is facing offices, and in a market with oversupply such as Johannesburg or Gauteng, Sandton, that continues to be a problem. Having said that, Stephen, you're saying, have we bottomed? Our sense is that we're pretty close to bottoming. It's been a horrid sort of 5, 6, 7 years actually. We've seen 2 consecutive year-end reporting periods now, slight increase in office valuations, admittedly, again, mostly driven by the coastal regions. But, there are quite a few signs that suggest to us that we've bottomed out. And broadly, away from office, let's just broaden it to the property sector. We think the property sector has turned, has bottomed out, and if anything, with low interest rates being the leading indicator, we're seeing a bit of growth coming through.
Well, that's very encouraging. So a little bit of growth even in, it really is the sort of naughty province at the moment, even in Gauteng.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Gauteng office, retail and logistics actually performing pretty solidly, to be fair. Within nodes, I mean, there are certainly nodes that just are not performing, where infrastructure degradation has played out to such an extent where it's you're just finding it very difficult to attract tenants to certain nodes. And but within select pockets, you are seeing demand certainly in that retail and logistics space.
You own half of the V&A waterfront. The PIC owns the other half. I mean, I presume you're thrilled that its performance, no matter what happens, it seems to do well year after year, and particularly in the last year.
Yeah, look, it is. It's almost like a different country down there, and that asset in particular, I guess, is the one in the country, or probably even on the African continent, that's particularly exposed to tourism and the tourism the markets and the ups and downs. I mean, admittedly, COVID was absolute disaster, as you can imagine, with tourism coming to a grinding halt. But since then, it's just been on the up, and every year, we just seem to, get better and better results out of the waterfront. We're investing an absolute fortune between the PIC and ourselves. We got probably in the order of 4 billion rand worth of developments, in the ground at the moment, taking place, from new hotels to additional retail and residential, even office. In fact, we've seen pretty strong demand actually for office in the waterfront with a zero vacancy. Waterfront has actually got zero vacancy across all sectors. And we saw 12% like-for-like net property income growth at the waterfront. So, yeah, we remain very, very happy with that and encouraged, by the demand, for whatever product we put there. And long may it last. We are in the process of applying for some additional rights from the city, and hopefully we can get a positive outcome on that as well in the near future.
Norbert Sasse, thanks very much indeed. The Group CEO at Growthpoint Properties. Well, some signs of encouragement and optimism there, even in Gauteng on The Money Show tonight.